All right, diving right in. Today we've got an article that a listener sent us.
Yeah.
Doxa Administrativo, they're calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Summarizes a Harvard Business Review interview
Okay.
with Lisa Su,
Big name.
CEO of AMD. AMD, of course, if you're into tech, you probably know.
Yeah.
Really interested in this. She talks about AI, AMD's strategy,
Right.
leadership lessons. Really one of the top figures in all of tech.
I mean, if you just even think about AMD and what they do,
Yeah.
you probably encounter their work way more than you'd think.
Really. I know they make computer processors. The article mentions high performance
Mm-hmm.
and adaptive computing.
Yeah.
What is that?
So think about it like this.
Okay.
If your laptop is a car,
Uh-huh.
high-performance computing is like having a Formula One engine under the hood.
Oh.
It gives you that massive processing power for things like AI, running complex simulations,
Really?
handling tons and tons of data, not even just speed. It can adapt and solve those increasingly complex problems.
Okay, so that's where AMD fits into all this AI stuff we're hearing so much about.
Exactly. And Sue actually says in the interview that AI
Yeah?
is the biggest technological development in 50 years.
Wow.
She calls it a superpower.
A superpower. I mean, I guess I use it for some stuff.
Sure.
Is it really that transformative, that big of a deal?
Think about it. She talks about, revolutionizing healthcare.
Yeah.
Making businesses more efficient, even just personal productivity.
Okay.
What I thought was really interesting is she uses it internally at AMD
Wow, really?
to make their chip designs even better.
Wow. So it's not all just like hype.
No.
It's real application.
Okay. But of course, we've got to talk about
Yeah.
the other side of that. A lot of people, I think, myself included,
Sure.
kind of worried about AI, especially jobs, right?
Huge topic. What's interesting is she calls herself a pragmatic optimist. Doesn't ignore the potential problems with AI, especially because it's still pretty early. It can make mistakes.
Right. So she really emphasizes we need to be careful, not just blindly trust it, be critical.
Okay, so understand the potential, but also the limits of it.
Limits, for sure.
Yeah. And how does that connect back to just the average person?
So you and me using AI in our own lives.
Right.
It's like a call to action.
Okay.
Learn about it, be informed,
Yeah.
use it responsibly, don't just let it happen to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That makes sense. So, but then how does she balance that cautious approach
Right.
with the fact that she really wants to experiment and implement AI quickly?
Right. It seems like those two things
kind of clash.
Yeah. Well, she's not saying just develop it recklessly.
No, not.
She's talking about finding those areas where it can really make an impact right away,
Okay.
deliver value.
Yeah.
And she uses this term co-pilots,
Co-pilots.
where AI is helping the experts, the humans,
Okay.
not replacing them. Okay, so that's an interesting way to put it. What would that actually look like?
Imagine AI helping doctors diagnose things better. Or engineers make bridges that are safer.
Yeah.
That's what she's talking about.
Right, so humans are still in the loop.
Oh, sure.
Not just, pushed out.
No, collaboration.
Interesting. And AMD,
Yeah.
they've even got, a responsible AI council.
So, yeah, they're taking this seriously.
It's not just AI is taking over the world.
Right.
It's more nuanced.
Way more nuanced.
Right. And, I think a lot of people are really impressed with how she's led AMD, over the last 10 years.
Yeah, amazing turnaround.
How'd she pick where to focus? Especially because they didn't have unlimited resources.
Right. Well, what's interesting is she really decided to go all in on high-performance computing.
Yeah.
Even when it wasn't the trendy thing.
Okay.
It was a risk, but it worked.
Yeah.
Because now everyone needs that computing power for AI.
So she saw it coming before
For a lot of people.
That's serious foresight.
Big time. And it's a good lesson for all of us. What are our strengths, even if they're not hot right now? How can we use those like she did to stay ahead?
That's a really good point. Because it is amazing to see AMD doing so well.
Yeah.
With these giants out there like
Yeah.
NVIDIA. It even mentions in the article anticipating the industry 3 to 5 years out.
Right, making these bold bets.
Wow, she's got a crystal ball.
Right.
And it's paying off. That investment that they made in AI, it's all coming together now.
Yeah, and that really connects to, our listeners who are really into learning. This whole deep dive is about giving you that knowledge.
Right.
To make the smart decisions and get ahead.
So then what about, because there's a concern in the interview, developing this really advanced AI.
Yeah.
It costs a ton of money.
Huge investments.
Does that mean it's only going to be for these huge companies?
Right. That's a great point.
With tons of money.
She acknowledges that. Top-tier models, they're expensive. Yeah. But there are these more tailored models coming out that need less.
Okay.
And get this.
Yeah.
She says the cost of actually using AI every day is going to drop a lot in the next few years.
Oh, that's great. So it could really become something everyone can use.
Right.
Not just this elite tool.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to stay in the loop on this stuff.
Yeah.
As it gets easier, cheaper to use, there's going to be even more opportunity to take advantage.
Right. But then, of course, we can't ignore the whole geopolitical stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Right. The article mentions China banning AMD chips for their government.
Right.
That's a delicate situation for AMD, right?
Yeah.
Because it could affect their, whole global strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. How did Sue handle that?
Yeah.
Well, she was very diplomatic.
Yeah.
Respected China's right to make their own choices.
Yeah.
But also emphasized, AMD's global reach, all their partnerships.
So finding that balance, respecting those different views.
Yeah. And keeping AMD moving forward.
Okay, interesting. And then, Sue herself, she's a woman in tech.
Big deal.
Right. She's really broken some barriers.
Yeah.
The article talks a bit about how the industry is doing in terms of, gender equity.
Not great.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what's Sue's take on all that?
Well, she's pretty straightforward. Says there aren't enough women in tech.
Yeah.
Point blank. And she really pushes for diversity, not just to look good.
Yeah.
She really thinks it makes everything matter.
So it's not about quotas or anything like that?
Not at all. She says different perspectives lead to better products,
Yeah.
more creative solutions, a stronger company.
That's great to hear. It really does feel like she's not just saying it.
Oh, yeah.
She's really about it.
Big time.
Right. And it's a good reminder, diversity isn't just about having people who look different.
No.
It's about creating something better for everyone.
100%. So we've covered a lot, I think, in this first part of our deep dive.
Yeah. AMD, the potential, but also the risks of AI and how she's led in this world that's changing so fast. Before we wrap up part one, what's her biggest takeaway?
Oh, that's good. So after 10 years as CEO, what's the one thing she wants to share? It's this: be ambitious with your long-term goals.
Right.
Dream big. BUT, have those clear steps along the way.
Okay.
So you can measure progress. It's about vision.
Right.
And getting it done.
I like the plan.
Yeah, the plan to get there. And that's such a valuable lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
No matter what you're doing.
Right. Leading a company or just...
your own project.
Yeah. So to recap part one, AMD, AI, all that good stuff, and Sue's approach to being a leader. But stay tuned. We're going to delve even deeper in part two, coming up after a quick break.
And welcome back to our deep dive into Lisa Su and AMD.
We were just talking about, her leadership and long-term vision.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to hear about how she predicted, these big changes in tech and how she adapted.
Right.
The article also mentioned, kind of funny thing.
Yeah.
She uses, Reddit and X to stay informed.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you think a CEO would be getting their information from, these super exclusive reports or something?
I guess you would think that, but those things, they can be really slow.
Yeah.
And you don't get that, real raw insight
Okay.
that you can find on Reddit or X.
So it's staying connected
Yeah.
to what, actual people are saying.
Yeah, totally. So sees how valuable it is to get information from all these different places.
Right.
And Reddit and X are great for that. You can see trends, feedback, in real time, even what your competitors are up to.
Got to stay agile.
Informed.
Yeah.
Ahead of the curve.
Right. So not just those old school ways of getting info.
Be proactive.
Find what works for you.
Exactly. And that reminds me of something else she talks about.
Yeah.
Geopolitics, all those challenges.
Right. Yeah. Tricky stuff.
Big time. The article talks about China banning AMD chips.
Oh, right. For their government.
Exactly. Which, could really affect AMD's global plans.
Huge impact.
Yeah. How did Sue approach that whole situation?
Yeah. How'd she handle that?
Very carefully, very diplomatic.
Okay.
She said, China has the right to make its own choices.
Right.
But she also pointed out, hey, AMD is all over the world.
Yeah, they're global.
Tons of partnerships.
Okay, so finding that middle ground.
Yeah.
Respecting everyone.
And keeping AMD moving forward.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to AI
Yeah.
and how it's going to impact, everybody.
Right.
One of the things in the interview was, like, it costs so much to develop AI.
Huge costs, yeah.
Will it only be for companies?
Right. Is it going to create a divide?
Yeah, with tons of money.
It's a worry for sure. Those super advanced model, they're expensive to make.
Yeah.
But Sue says there are these smaller AI models coming out
Okay.
that don't need as much.
Less resources?
Right, exactly. And even better,
Yeah.
she thinks the price of using AI every day is going to go way down in the next few years.
That's really good news.
Yeah.
Because it could be something everyone has access to.
Right. Democratize it.
Yeah, not just like this special thing for the rich.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to keep up with this stuff.
Right, because it's changing.
Yeah, as it gets cheaper, easier to use, there's going to be more chances for everyone to use it.
More opportunities.
Totally. Now, I want to touch on, Sue as a woman in tech.
Right, yeah.
It's a big deal.
She's, like, broken down barriers.
Totally.
The article talked about how the tech world's doing on gender equality.
Not great.
What were her thoughts on that?
She's really honest. Says there just aren't enough women in the industry, period. And she's a huge advocate for diversity.
Yeah.
Not to make things look good.
Right.
She thinks it actually makes everything better.
Better products, better company.
Exactly. Different ways of thinking lead to better solutions.
Yeah.
A stronger company culture.
It's great that she's using her position to talk about this.
Yeah, walking the walk.
It shows that diversity isn't just about who's in the room.
No, it's about results.
Right.
It's about making the whole industry better.
For everybody.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up this part,
Okay.
I want to go back to something Sue said that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
She talked about balancing those big, ambitious goals with, like, concrete milestones.
Like those check marks along the way.
Right, making steady progress. It's
Okay.
like, dream big, but have a plan.
Yeah.
Break it down into steps. Hold yourself accountable.
Like that old saying, a journey of 1,000 miles.
Begins with a single step.
Yeah, but you need a map. You need to know where you're going.
Right, the roadmap, the compass.
Exactly. And I think that leads us perfectly into the last part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Where we'll look at how Sue's leadership really shaped AMD.
Their amazing journey.
And what we can all learn from how she found success. Back for the final part of our deep dive. Lisa Su and AMD. What a story.
Right. Her journey, her insights, leadership, tech, just navigating this crazy business world.
Really impressive. She took AMD from, like, struggling to, global leader.
Yeah.
All in 10 years.
Yeah. I think what's really amazing is her strategic focus. High-performance computing. Seeing those trends coming.
Yeah. And then handling all these tough situations, like, diplomatically.
Yeah, it's not just reacting to what's happening right now. It's being ahead. Remember how she said she's thinking 3-5 years out?
Right, having the vision. But then it's got to be more than that. You have to, like, actually do it, right?
Exactly. The execution. Take those big steps. Turn that vision into something real. Going back to high-performance computing, she invested heavily when nobody else was really paying attention to it.
Yeah, and it was a risk.
Total risk. But look, it worked. Perfectly aligned with AI taking off and everyone needing that power.
Sticking to what you're good at. And then being brave enough to make those big decisions.
Big decisions, yeah.
That's how you get these huge successes, right? And I think that applies to, like, way more than just tech.
Oh, absolutely. It's a life lesson. And then, remember what we were saying before? Ambition, A&D, practicality. Sue talked about setting those big, long-term guns.
Yeah.
But then break them down. Steps, milestones, track your progress. Don't lose sight of the vision.
Like the roadmap and the compass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Big picture thinking, plus the focus to make it happen. Success doesn't just appear overnight, right? It's effort, making smart choices, adapting, learning as you go.
And I think we have to mention creating a positive workplace. Sue's really passionate about diversity.
Huge advocate. And not just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
She believes it makes everything better. Innovation, success, the whole package.
Different ideas, different perspectives.
Yeah.
That's how you get the best results.
Right. And she doesn't just talk about it. She's out there actively supporting diversity, using her platform to make the industry more inclusive.
Yeah, which is awesome to see. Leadership isn't just, knowing the tech stuff or business. It's also emotional intelligence, thinking about ethics, building that culture where everyone feels good about contributing.
100%. So wrapping up our deep dive into Lisa Su,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway? What do we want our listeners to remember?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Success is a journey, not like a finish line. It's about learning, changing, growing, have the guts to make those big choices, but then the discipline to follow through. And then don't be afraid to make mistakes. Learn from them.
Embrace change. Question everything. Keep learning. Keep looking for new knowledge, new perspectives.
That's it. And remember, leadership isn't a title. It's how you approach things. Empowering others, supporting diversity, trying to make a difference in whatever you do.
Lisa Su is a perfect example of all that.
For sure. So, to everyone listening, as you're on your own journey, remember what we've talked about today. Be bold, be curious, adapt, never stop learning.
And who knows, maybe we'll be doing a deep dive on your success story someday.
That'd be great. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, keep diving deep. And if you need help figuring it all out, we're here.
We'll be here for the next deep dive.